Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Field's Guide to Pharaohs by Julie Mulhern, narrated by Renée Chambliss. Chapter 1. Chasing my dead father wasn't easy. The opposite. Already, I'd said goodbye to my mother, my dog, my partner, and maybe my job. I'd flown to Egypt, and now I stood at the hotel's reception desk. Reservation for Poppy Fields? The young woman behind the desk smiled. Welcome to Mena House, Miss Fields. We have you in Mr. Brookroft's favorite suite. Her voice carried, and I winced. Says a wonderful view of the pyramids. Fatigue scratched at my eyes, pulled at my limbs, and whispered in my ear, "You need rest." I didn't care about pyramids. I cared about mattress quality. Not that I had time for sleep. Not when Thor, Mark Stone to the rest of the world, had arranged a contact for me. The contact, Ethan, might help me find my dad, a man who'd supposedly died years ago. Except he hadn't. He'd appeared, twice, in 2 cities. Then he disappeared, to Egypt, a country where I had no friends and didn't speak the language. So here I was, alone and shaky, with emotions that ran in a constant loop. Rage, grief, and confusion took turns. The certainty that I deserved answers was a constant. I dropped my bags in the suite, freshened my makeup, and hurried down exotic hallways. Would this Ethan person be able to help? I paused at the entrance to the Sultan Lounge and drew jasmine-scented air into my lungs. A red and gold ceiling floated 25 feet above guests clustered around small tables. Lanterns cast golden light, and elaborately carved strings of beads cascaded from the ceiling to the floor. Their reflection against night-stained walls of windows was like standing in a champagne glass. Magical, sophisticated, exotic. The perfect place for a rendezvous with a CIA spook. A middle-aged couple sat near the window, reading glasses perched at the end of her long nose as she perused a guidebook. He sipped a martini with his eyes closed. Exhaustion radiated from his slumped shoulders, as if his wife had dragged him through all 3 pyramids, then made him ride a camel. He didn't look like a CIA agent. 4 Asian men in business suits huddled around a table and spoke a rapid-fire language I didn't understand. They definitely weren't agents. At least, not American agents. Only 3 people clustered at the bar. An older man with a forgettable face, a woman wearing a gorgeous linen tunic, and a college frat boy whose parents were probably asleep in their room. The frat boy grinned at me, and his eyes danced with mischief. I ignored him and took a seat next to the older man. "I'm Poppy." The man looked up from his phone. "Stanley." "Not Ethan?" His gaze traveled from my face to my chest, where it lingered. "Wish I was." "What may I get you, miss?" asked the bartender. Grateful for the interruption, I smiled at the bartender. "An Aperol spritz." I glanced at my watch. I'd arrived 5 minutes early. The spook wasn't here yet. The bartender mixed Aperol and Prosecco, added a splash of soda, and finished with an orange slice. "Thank you." I accepted the drink, escaped Stanley's leer, and claimed a table not far from the exhausted couple. Beyond the Asian men's chatter, music played, a haunting, mysterious melody with the sounds of a wood flute and lute. Egypt was different. The music, the language, the sounds, the smells. I was out of my depth. I peered into my drink and reminded myself why I'd come, to find my father. A pretty girl shouldn't drink alone. Frat boy. Here I was on solid ground. Frat boy and men like him were as familiar as apple pie and baseball, as annoying as ants at a picnic. He held a martini with 4 skewered olives, wore a "women find me irresistible" smile, and waited for my reply. I prefer being alone. He blinked, as if his pretty girl line was a no-fail winner. For a half-second, I considered tempering my rejection. I'm seeing someone. I'm tired. I'm not in the mood. In that half-second, he pulled out the chair next to mine and sat. Just what I needed. A persistent man-boy with an inflated opinion of his charms. I'm meeting someone. He wrinkled his nose. I'll leave when he gets here. Anger had boarded the plane to Egypt with me. Its sharp elbows had poked me throughout the flight. It had stood next to me, shifting its impatient weight while I checked in to Mena House. It bared its teeth now. You should go. He dismissed my reply with a lazy flick of his wrist, and his "I'm so irresistible you'll soon fall into my arms" smile brightened. What time is your guy supposed to arrive? Now, so there's no point in your lingering. No one arrives on time in Egypt. You're an expert? Frat boy's grin widened, and his eyes sparkled. I am. I waved at the bartender. Frat boy glanced at my full drink. Another already? The bartender can remove you from my table. I wouldn't do that, Poppy. I froze. Half the world recognized my mother, and since I looked just like her, it wasn't unusual for people to recognize me. His knowing my name wasn't exactly impressive. Why not? Stone set this meeting for a reason. I dropped my hand to my lap and stared more closely at the boy sharing my table. Expensive denim, wrinkled button-down shirt, loafers. Light brown hair worn a smidge too long. Hazel eyes, that smile. He looked like a fifth-year senior from an Ivy League school who'd taken a travel semester. Weren't CIA agents supposed to resemble Felix Leiter? Or, failing that, be forgettable like my boss, Mr. Brown? What's your name? Ethan Alexander. Stone says you need my help finding someone. Ethan Alexander didn't look capable of finding the pyramids, and they were outside the window. This was Thor's contact? My slim chances of finding my father dwindled. Frat boy rubbed the back of his neck and tilted his head to the ceiling. Who are you looking for? Rather than give him a name, I pulled up a picture on my phone and handed it to him. He stared at the photo, his eyes narrowed, and his lips firmed. For an instant, Frat boy looked intimidating. But when he raised his gaze, the "let's skip this nonsense and go to bed" smile was in place. Jackson Meadows? Who? He tapped the screen. Jackson Meadows, Tomb Raider. I closed my eyes and counted to 10. My frayed temper wasn't Frat boy's fault. Unless he was screwing with me. His fingernail traced my father's face. The photo is old, but that is definitely Jackson Meadows. The man on my phone's screen was Jack Fields, retired Special Forces, my father. He'd faked his death, and I wouldn't rest till I'd discovered why. He's not a Tomb Raider. Ethan leaned back in his chair and crossed his ankle over his knee. His eyes glinted in the golden light. He's no Indiana Jones. Meadows is a dangerous man. He procures rare antiquities. What's your interest?" "Explanations weren't part of the deal," I replied. "There is no deal. Stone called, asked me to meet you. I'll thank him later. And here I am." Ethan Alexander was a good liar, but I'd sat next to Thor when he'd texted Frat Boy and secured his promise not just to listen, but to help. "How do you know Stone?" he asked. "We met in Paris." His smile curled into something wicked, as if I'd met Thor after dancing a number at the Moulin Rouge. "Tell me why you want Meadows." "It's personal." He studied the photo on the phone, then me. "You shouldn't mess with this guy. He's dangerous." Jackson Meadows, an obvious alias. My father might lie to me, scar my psyche, and disappear, but he wasn't dangerous, not to me. "Can you help or not?" Frat Boy gazed at me with languid eyes, pulled an olive off the skewer, popped said olive into his mouth, and shrugged. I shifted my focus to the glass wall and silently counted. 1, 2, 3. The pyramids hid in the darkness outside. 9, 10. Nope, still ready to deck him. I counted to 10 a second time, then took a cleansing breath. Ethan Alexander, Frat Boy, was useless to me. "I'll tell Mark you couldn't help." "I didn't say I couldn't help." He stretched his legs and sipped his drink. "There's a gold dealer who might tell us where Meadows is." "Where's the dealer?" "Khan El Khalili." He ate another olive. "This time of night, the souk is closed. I'll take you in the morning." Impatience tightened the muscles in my shoulders and neck. "The dealer's name?" "You look like a woman." He didn't say idiotic before woman, but the unspoken word hung in the air, as tangible as the beads in the windows. "Who might search for information by herself. I'll keep the name till tomorrow." I forced a smile. "What time in the morning?" 10. What's your phone number? I'll text you so you have mine." I gave him my number. "Can we go earlier?" He held up his martini and stared at me through the vodka in the glass. 10. "Where shall we meet?" "I'll pick you up." He glanced at my outfit, a pair of Brunello Cucelli paper-bag pants paired with a lightweight Bottega Veneta scoop-neck sweater. "Wear something conservative." His gaze fixed on the tiny V of cleavage. "A sweater like the one you're wearing now might cause a riot in the souk." There was nothing wrong with my clothes. Not one thing. I gritted my teeth and forced another smile. "Anything else?" He leaned forward, claimed a strand of my hair, and rubbed it between his fingers. "A headscarf isn't the worst idea." "Got it." His gaze lifted to the pavé diamond heart locket I wore. "Also, no expensive jewelry." "I never take this off." "Never?" An invitation, not a question. "Never," I snapped. "Then cover it up. No point making yourself a target." Orders from Frat Boy didn't help my annoyance level. But he knew the country, I didn't. "Fine." I held out my hand for my phone. He gave it to me, and I stood. "You haven't finished your drink." I ignored the half-empty glass on the table. "It's been a long day. I'll see you in the morning." "Wait." "What?" "You're sure about this? Like I said, Meadows is dangerous." "I'll see you at 10. "Poppy." His hand caught my wrist. "What?" "Meadows' location won't come cheap. Can you pay?" I nodded, yanked my wrist free, and left the bar before he could ask more questions. The morning sun warmed my shoulders as I clung to the edge of the pool and caught my breath. Around me, palm trees reached for a cerulean sky, and sunbathers claimed bright yellow lounge chairs. I pushed out of the pool, padded across the concrete to the chair where I'd left my bag, wrapped myself in a thirsty towel, Egyptian cotton, it was a thing, and collapsed onto the chaise. A waiter appeared at my side. "May I get you anything?" "A bottle of water and a cup of coffee, please." "Yes, miss." He hurried away. I pulled my phone from my bag and scrolled through messages. One from my friend Andre. "Are you still in London? Drinks?" One from my friend Mia. "Why is your mother texting me?" None from Thor. I texted Andre. "Sorry, can't do drinks." I texted Mia. "Beware." I entered a text to Thor. "I miss you." What was the time in England? Was Thor even in England? I wanted more information about Ethan Alexander. What did he do for the CIA? Was his information reliable? Did Thor miss me? Ding! I glanced at the phone screen. "Your dog misses you." A text from Sheris. Her timing was impeccable. I erased the text to Thor and sent a message to Sheris instead. "I miss her too." "He lied to you. Why are you chasing him?" My mother didn't approve of my following my father to Egypt. My fingers hovered. What could I tell her? My dad had abandoned me, and I was furious with him. But deep inside, I hoped he had a good reason. A reason so good, I'd be forced to forgive him. "Egypt is a dangerous place." Sheris didn't give up. "Your coffee, miss." The white-coated waiter deposited a cup of coffee, a pitcher of cream, a sugar bowl, and a bottle of water on the table next to me. "May I get you anything else?" "No, thank you." Sitting on a comfortable chaise with the sun kissing my shoulders, Egypt didn't feel dangerous. It felt exotic and... I tasted the coffee. Decadent. I texted, "I'll be careful." Ha! Sheris's confidence in me was heartwarming. I dropped the phone into my bag, sipped my coffee, and took in the hotel's flower-filled grounds. I lounged in an oasis, as verdant as springtime. Easy to forget the desert lay on the opposite side of the street. When the coffee cup was empty, I returned to my suite, stepped onto the balcony, and gazed at the pyramids. Time laughs at man, but the pyramids laugh at time. I understood the sentiment. The stones rising from the desert floor seemed older than time. Their age made my problems seem tiny, not even a blip in a 4,000-year history. My mind wandered to more recent history, to One Hyde Park, where I'd left my partner and my dog. Neither liked this trip to Egypt. Thor had closed his hands on my shoulders and stared into my eyes. "I'm not welcome in Egypt. I can't go with you." "Why aren't you welcome in Egypt?" "We're not discussing me. We're discussing you. You in a dangerous country by yourself." He frowned. "You don't have the slightest clue where your father is, and Egypt isn't small." "Ruff! What Thor said. Also, how can you consider leaving me with your mother? This trip is dangerous, a fool's errand, and plain crazy. Take me with you." I'd cuddled Consuela, my killer chihuahua, in my arms. "They have scorpions bigger than you." "Ruff! I can beat a bug." "And snakes, poisonous snakes." I hated snakes. "Ruff! Snakes are no threat. I'm faster than a mongoose. I can't look out for you. If you leave me in England, I can't look out for you. The furrows between Thor's brows made the Grand Canyon look like a dip in the road. You're doing this. You're going. I can't change your mind. Jurgi booked me into a hotel in Giza, Mena House. Jurgi was Sheris's soulmate and a Russian oligarch. A man so rich he could teach Midas about wealth. Amusement flashed across Thor's face. Why are you smiling? Have you ever heard of Mena House? No. Everyone from Churchill to Agatha Christie to Roger Moore has stayed there. During the Second World War, the Australias requisitioned the place, first as a headquarters, then as a hospital. It's nice. How do you know so much about a hotel? Thor's usual expertise ran to guns, American football, and thwarting terrorist attacks. Mena House leaves an impression. He stared at something beyond my left shoulder, as if a memory lurked behind me. When were you there? Nope, not discussing me. He returned his gaze to my face, and his grip on my shoulders tightened. You shouldn't do this alone, Poppy. There are too many variables. I can... You don't speak the language, know the customs, or have any allies. His right eye twitched. You need Ethan. Ethan? I'm texting him now. He let go of my shoulders, and his fingers flew over his phone. How do you know him? A mission. He's CIA. You trust him? He winced. He's better than nothing. That's encouraging. He scowled at his phone. He's in. He'll help. He'll meet you at the Sultan's Bar in Mena House at 9 o'clock. I turned away from the pyramids and my memories, showered, dressed, and headed to the lobby. No surprise, Thor's better-than-nothing CIA agent wasn't there. What did frat boy said last night? In Egypt, no one arrives on time. I chose a SETI, picked up the New York Times International edition, and read about an incident-thwarted terrorist attack in London. M16 had thwarted a terrorist attack. There were multiple casualties in an office building in the city. The reporter's story lacked pertinent facts unavailable to the media. Thank heavens. The last thing I needed was my name associated with another terrorist attack. I glanced up from the paper and swallowed a gasp. George Gladstone strode past without seeing me. I'd last seen Gladstone in London. When we met, he told me he worked as a private banker. Money launderer was closer to the truth. As in London, he wore a bespoke suit, an Hermes tie, and a watch that cost more than most houses. As in London, a dark, oily aura hung above his head. My boss, Mr. Brown, who ran a super-secret agency, was interested in Gladstone. The man might be funding terror. I considered my next move. Ethan was coming. He'd be here any minute. He expected me to be ready. But the man who hurried down the corridor might fund an attack that killed thousands. Ethan could wait. I rose from the SETI and followed Gladstone. Mena House's wide corridors didn't offer much camouflage. I let Gladstone increase the distance between us and covered my head with the scarf Ethan insisted I bring. Gladstone entered 139 restaurant and followed the maitre d' to a table on the terrace. I weaved through the indoor tables, paused at the open doors to the terrace, spotted Gladstone and snapped a photo of him with the man he'd met for breakfast. The man, impressive nose, dark slashes for brows, skin darkened by decades in the sun, was familiar. I stood in a column's shadow and stared. The man's gaze shifted to me, and for a half second, I froze. Then adrenaline flooded my veins, and I slipped behind a sun-warmed column. "May I help you, miss?" The waiter's question made me jump. I held my palms against my heart and attempted calm. "My boyfriend said he'd be here, but I don't see him." I cut through the restaurant with the waiter's gaze fixed to my back. I felt it. When I reached the corridor, I glanced over my shoulder. No one followed me. Not Gladstone, not the man he'd met for breakfast. I gave my heart a few seconds to return to normal rhythm. What now? It didn't matter that I wasn't supposed to be in Egypt. I had to do it. I texted Mr. Brown the photo from the terrace. Gladstone spotted at Mena House. I dropped my phone into my bag and returned to the lobby, where Ethan waited for me with a "how can you resist me" smile fixed firmly on his face. His gaze took in my linen pants and Eskandar silk tunic, and he nodded his approval. "You're late. I have a taxi waiting." He led me outside, opened the cab's door, and climbed in after me. "Did you sleep well?" I'd spent half the night staring at the pyramids and planning the conversations I'd have with my dad. "Restless." "Restless? Maybe you were lonely." "No," although I was lonely for Consuela and Thor. "No one you're missing?" I scowled at him. The man asked intrusive questions. "What's the deal with you and Stone?" "The deal?" "Are you a couple?" My phone buzzed. I dug it from my handbag and angled the screen so Ethan couldn't see the incoming text. Mr. Brown had responded, "Egypt? What are you doing in Egypt? Keep eyes on Gladstone." At least he hadn't fired me. "Is that Stone?" Ethan asked. "No." I texted Mr. Brown. No longer at Mena House. I hit send and felt Mr. Brown's displeasure reach across the Mediterranean Sea. "Then who?" "You're very nosy." "I can't help wondering what a woman like you is doing in Egypt." "A woman like me?" "Stunning. Young. A paparazzi darling." "I told you, I'm looking for Jackson Meadows." Dad's alias felt odd on my tongue. "That's not the whole story. How do you know Stone?" Outside my window, Cairo traffic was a mishmash of late-model cars, motorbikes, several with women in burqas riding side saddle on the back, bicycles, blaring horns, random lane changes, and frustrated passengers who risked their lives leaving their cabs in the middle of the congested streets. For every 20 feet we gained, we sat for 2 minutes. Pedestrians wove through the stopped cars without regard for life or limb. Is it always like this? "The traffic? Yes. You didn't answer my questions." I peeked over my shoulder. The shiny black Mercedes that had appeared when we left Mena House was still behind us. Despite the warm air flowing through the cab's open windows, I shivered. "If your friend can help us, I'll tell you." Ethan's sparkling eyes flashed with "your secrets will be mine" canniness. "That answers the Meadows question. What about you and Stone?" "What about us?" "Stone doesn't let women distract him, ever." "Who says he's distracted?" "I do. Stone is definitely distracted, and I bet you're the distraction." "This is none of your business." "That just makes it more interesting." I didn't know how to define my relationship with Thor. We stood at the precipice of something big, something important. We'd clasped hands, ready to take the leap. But we hadn't leapt. Not yet. Even if I could give Ethan an answer, I didn't want to. I settled into my seat. "How long do we get there?" "No telling. Sit back and enjoy the ride." Chapter 2. Khan el-Khalili was enormous, old and packed with people. The souk's narrow, crowded streets smelled of...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?